What began as one of the biggest driver moves in modern Formula One history might now be turning into one of its greatest what-ifs. Lewis Hamilton, the seven-time world champion, the legend who redefined dominance at Mercedes, was supposed to be Ferrari's savior, the missing piece, the Red Knight, the chosen one destined to awaken the sleeping giant of Maranello and restore the Scuderia to championship glory. But fast forward to mid-2025, and what was meant to be a fairy tale is unraveling faster than a faulty doctor's wing in Monza. No podiums, no wins, and now, perhaps most damaging of all, no confidence. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, Hamilton looked like a shadow of the man who once turned Formula One into his personal playground. After qualifying a disappointing 12th, while Charles Leclerc snatched pole, Lewis didn't hold back. "I'm useless," he admitted, words that cut deep, echoing the mindset of a champion spiraling into self-doubt. But the bigger shock came moments later when Hamilton dropped a bombshell. "There's a lot going on in the background that's not great." Suddenly, this wasn't just about car setup or outright pace. This was about politics, tension, and something far more unsettling beneath the surface at Ferrari. And then there's the contract. Officially branded as multi-year, Hamilton's deal is vague by design, but insiders insist it runs until 2026 with an option on his side to extend into 2027. Translation: Lewis holds the keys. But after those comments in Budapest, the question looms: is he already eyeing the exit? Enter Johnny Herbert, former F1 driver and ex-FIA steward, who, like the rest of us, is watching this slow-motion implosion play out. But Herbert isn't convinced silence is golden. In fact, he believes the Ferrari-Hamilton alliance could already be on life support. If things don't drastically improve by the end of 2025, he warns, don't be surprised if the plug gets pulled. And if Hamilton walks, or if Ferrari quietly shows him the door, then who replaces him? Herbert's got a bold suggestion: Carlos Sainz. Yes, the very same Sainz who was sacrificed to make room for Hamilton. The smooth operator himself, now battling in the midfield with Williams, but still a driver Herbert insists is the real deal. Let's rewind. Sainz has never hidden his heartbreak over Ferrari's decision. After 4 wins in red and 4 seasons pushing Leclerc to the limit, he was negotiating a renewal as late as October 2023, convinced he'd stay. But then in January came the gut punch. "Lewis is replacing you." No heads up, no sit down, just a phone call, and not even from Ferrari. A friend broke the news. Imagine that. After years of loyalty and success, blindsided in the coldest fashion. Sainz has since signed with Williams until 2026, but here's the twist. He's believed to have an escape clause if a top team comes calling, and right now, Ferrari might be dialing that number. So let's play out the scenario. If Hamilton's words weren't just heat-of-the-moment frustration, but a genuine reflection of Ferrari's deeper dysfunction, then the writing could already be on the wall. Herbert suggests quiet conversations might already be happening behind closed doors, conversations about a mutual exit strategy, about whether it's better to part ways sooner rather than later. And if that's true, don't be surprised if Carlos Sainz's name is already on the shortlist. But let's clear something up. This is not a Max Verstappen fantasy. Herbert has shut that down entirely. This is a Sainz redemption arc waiting to be written. Which brings us back to the heart of the issue: Hamilton's very public struggle to adapt at Ferrari. Team principal Frédéric Vasseur finally admitted what many suspected: they underestimated the sheer scale of the transition. Hamilton had spent his entire career, from McLaren to Mercedes, inside the Mercedes-shaped bubble. Same culture, same engineers, same systems. Moving to Ferrari wasn't just a career change, it was like switching planets. He spent 18 years in that environment, Vasseur confessed, and we stupidly expected he would have everything under control. It was naive. The contrast with Carlos Sainz is stark. Sainz had hopped teams like a seasoned traveler: Toro Rosso, Renault, McLaren, Ferrari, now Williams. Hamilton, on the other hand, was a one-house man, and that comfort zone is gone. The adaptation was always going to be brutal. Vasseur admitted those early months were rough, with Hamilton taking 4 or 5 races just to find his feet. From Canada to Austria, there were glimpses of the old Hamilton, but then came Spa, a tough weekend. Then Hungary, a disaster. And while Vasseur insists not to read too much into the results, his explanation feels thinner by the race. The difference between P1 and P12 might be a tenth of a second, he said. And sure, in Formula One, a fraction means everything, but those fractions are piling up. And so is Hamilton's frustration, which is becoming louder, sharper, and harder to ignore. Vasseur has made it clear: Lewis Hamilton is demanding of his team, but just as demanding of himself. And that's usually fine. Mechanics can handle the pressure if they see their driver pushing just as hard on his own limits. But when that self-criticism starts crossing into dangerous territory, when Lewis mutters things like, "I'm useless," or even questions if Ferrari should replace him, suddenly, alarm bells start ringing. Behind the scenes, Ferrari has done everything possible to smooth this transition. They've imported familiar faces from his Mercedes days, Loera, Jerome D'Ambrosio, performance engineer Luca Della, all designed to build a safety net, a comfort zone. But even that hasn't been enough, because Ferrari isn't Brackley, it isn't Brixworth, it's Maranello. And in Maranello, pressure doesn't slowly build, it detonates. Yes, Hamilton has shown flashes of his brilliance. The sprints have been kinder to him, a win in China, a third place in Miami, glimpses of the legend we know. But come Sunday, when it matters most, the podiums vanish into thin air, and it's not because the raw pace is missing. In qualifying, he's proven he can be right up there, like Monaco, where he secured fourth, but the execution just hasn't followed. Instead, it's been a cocktail of penalties, strategy errors, and plain rotten luck, each conspiring to drag him back down. So here's the looming question that nobody can ignore. Is this simply the painful adjustment period we all expected, or are we witnessing the unraveling of a move that was doomed from the start? Carlos Sainz, for his part, would probably love to answer that himself. He never wanted to leave Ferrari. In fact, on the High Performance podcast, he admitted he felt blindsided. "We were talking since October to renew," he said. "I never felt suspicious." He was training, prepping, waiting to sign on the dotted line, and then out of nowhere the bombshell: "Lewis is in, you're out." No warning, no real explanation. And yet, Sainz has kept his head down at Williams, even as he trails Alex Albon and the results aren't coming. Why? Because Carlos is playing the long game. He knows the bigger picture. He knows Ferrari might come calling again. And deep down, he knows what he's capable of delivering. The timing could almost be poetic. If Hamilton and Ferrari decide to part ways at the end of 2025, Sainz would still be under contract at Williams, but crucially, open to a return. And for Ferrari, the logic writes itself. They'd be getting a known quantity, a driver who already understands the culture, who knows the systems, who pushed Charles Leclerc season after season, and unlike Hamilton, wouldn't need 5 races just to get comfortable. Until then, the Ferrari garage will remain one of the most volatile and intriguing battlegrounds in Formula One, because if the Hamilton experiment continues to spiral, it won't just be remembered as a failed project. It'll be a full-blown PR disaster, and it could throw the door wide open for Carlos Sainz to script one of the most dramatic comeback stories the sport has seen in years. So the questions remain: is Lewis really finished at Ferrari before his story there ever had a chance to begin? And is Carlos Sainz quietly circling above, like a hawk, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because this drama, oh, it's far from over.